NENOMATICA, where mathematics meets YouTube excellence. Welcome to this mathematics video. Today, we're going to solve some algebraic problems involving substitution and clever manipulations. Let's start with our first example. We're given that x squared over x to the fourth plus 1 equals 1. And we need to find the value of x to the fourth over x to the eighth plus 1. Let's start by writing down what we know. We're given that x squared over x to the fourth plus 1 equals 1. First, let's rearrange this equation to isolate the denominator. We'll multiply both sides by the denominator, x to the fourth plus 1. Now, let's break up the fraction into separate terms. We get x squared over x squared, which is 1, plus 1 over x squared, all equals 1. Simplifying further, x to the fourth over x squared is just x squared. So we have x squared plus 1 over x squared equals 1. Let's note something interesting here. We have x squared plus 1 over x squared equals 1. This suggests that we should try squaring both sides to see if it leads to a useful pattern. Now, let's expand the squared expression on the left side. When we square x squared plus 1 over x squared, we get x to the fourth plus 1 over x to the fourth plus 2 times x squared times 1 over x squared, all equals 1. Let's simplify the middle term. 2 times x squared times 1 over x squared is just 2. Subtracting 2 from both sides, we get x to the fourth plus 1 over x to the fourth equals -1. Now, let's multiply both sides by x to the fourth to get a common denominator. We get x to the eighth plus 1 equals -x to the fourth. Finally, we can multiply both sides by -1 and rearrange to get x to the fourth over x to the eighth plus 1 equals -1. Therefore, the value of x to the fourth over x to the eighth plus 1 is -1. Welcome to this math lesson where we'll solve a challenging algebraic problem. Let's look at the problem. If x over x squared plus 1 equals 1/4, we need to find the value of square root of x over x plus 1. Let's start by writing down what we know. We have the equation x over x squared plus 1 equals 1/4. Our goal is to find square root of x over x plus 1. To solve this problem, we'll work with the given equation and transform it step by step. Our first move is to take the reciprocal of both sides of the equation. So we get x squared plus 1 over x equals 4. Now, let's manipulate this expression to make it easier to work with. We can split the fraction x squared plus 1 over x into two separate fractions. This gives us x squared over x plus 1 over x equals 4. Now we can simplify x squared over x to just x. So our equation becomes x plus 1 over x equals 4. This is a key step that will help us later. Here's a challenge for you. Can you think of a way to connect this expression to our target expression involving square root of x? The trick is to rewrite our terms using square roots. We can rewrite x as square root of x squared and 1 over x as 1 over square root of x squared. Now we'll use an important algebraic identity. The square of a sum minus twice the product equals the sum of squares. So, square root of x plus 1 over square root of x squared minus 2 times square root of x times 1 over square root of x equals 4. Let's simplify the product in the second term. Square root of x times 1 over square root of x equals 1. Also, we can rewrite the first term as x plus 1 over square root of x squared. So our equation becomes x plus 1 over square root of x squared minus 2 equals 4. Let's add 2 to both sides of the equation. This gives us x plus 1 over square root of x squared equals 6. Now we'll take the square root of both sides. This gives us x plus 1 over square root of x equals the square root of 6. We're getting closer to our target expression. Finally, we'll take the reciprocal of both sides again to get the form we're looking for. This gives us square root of x over x plus 1 equals 1 over square root of 6. And that's our answer. Let's highlight our final answer. The value of square root of x over x plus 1 is 1 over square root of 6. Welcome to our math tutorial. Today, we'll be solving algebraic fraction problems by applying algebraic manipulations to find the value of an expression. Let's look at our first example. If x over x squared plus 1 equals 1 over 4, what is the value of x squared over x to the fourth plus 1? Let's start by writing down what we know. We're given that x over x squared plus 1 equals 1 over 4. Now, let's multiply both sides by 4 to simplify. This gives us x over x squared plus 1 times 4 equals 1. Let's rewrite this equation by inverting both sides. We get x squared plus 1 over 4x equals 1, which simplifies to x squared plus 1 over x equals 4. Now, let's expand the fraction on the left side. X squared plus 1 over x is equal to x plus 1 over x. To move forward with our solution, let's square both sides of the equation. We get the square of x plus 1 over x equals the square of 4. Let's expand the square on the left side using the formula a plus b squared equals a squared plus 2 of plus b squared. We get x squared plus 2 times 1 over x plus 1 over x squared equals 16. Simplifying further, we get x squared plus 1 over x squared equals 16 minus 2, which equals 14. Now, we need to relate this to our original question, which asks for the value of x squared over x to the fourth plus 1. Let's rewrite x squared plus 1 over x squared in terms of x to the fourth. Finally, we can rewrite this to find the value of x squared over x to the fourth plus 1. Multiplying x squared over x to the fourth plus 1 by x squared over x squared, we get x to the fourth over x to the fourth plus 1 times x squared over x squared, which is equal to x squared over x to the fourth plus 1. Since we know that x to the fourth plus 1 over x squared equals 14, we can invert this to find that x squared over x to the fourth plus 1 equals 1 over 14. Now, let's look at our second example. If x minus 1 over x equals the square root of x plus 1 over the square root of x, find the value of x squared plus x to the negative 2. Let's begin with what we're given. We have x minus 1 over x equals the square root of x plus 1 over the square root of x. To eliminate the square roots, let's square both sides of the equation. On the left side, we get the square of x minus 1 over x. On the right side, we get the square root of x plus 1 over square root of x. Now, let's expand both sides using the formula a plus b squared equals a squared plus 2 of plus b squared, and a minus b squared equals a squared minus 2 of plus b squared. For the left side, we get x squared minus 2 plus 1 over x squared. For the right side, we get x plus 2 plus 1 over x. Now we can set up our expanded equation. We have x squared minus 2 plus 1 over x squared equals x plus 2 plus 1 over x. Let's rearrange the equation to isolate the terms we need. Moving all terms to the left side, we get x squared minus x minus 4 plus 1 over x squared minus 1 over x equals 0. Now, the question asks for the value of x squared plus x to the negative 2, which is x squared plus 1 over x squared. Let's look back at our expanded equation and see if we can isolate this expression. From our equation, we can isolate x squared plus 1 over x squared. We have x squared plus 1 over x squared equals x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 2. Welcome to this mathematics video. Today, we'll solve a quadratic equation in two variables to find the value of x plus y. Let's start with the given equation. 2x squared plus 4, y squared minus 4x, y minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Before we dive into this problem, let's recall an important mathematical fact. If u squared plus v squared equals 0, then u must equal 0, and v must equal 0. This happens because squares of real numbers are always non-negative, so their sum can only be 0 if both numbers are individually 0. Let's begin solving our main equation. Step 1. We'll start with the given equation. 2x squared plus 4, y squared minus 4x, y minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Step 2. Our strategy is to rewrite this equation as a sum of squares that equals 0. To achieve this, we'll first rearrange the terms of the equation. We'll group them as follows: x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus 4, y squared minus 4x, y plus x squared. The first group looks like a perfect square of the form x minus 1 squared. The second group will lead us to another perfect square. For the second group, we need to recognize that it can be written as a perfect square. Let's examine 4, y squared minus 4x, y plus x squared. This is the perfect square of 2y minus x. We can verify. When we expand 2y minus x squared, we get 4y squared minus 4x, y plus x squared. Step 3. Now we can rewrite our original equation as a sum of perfect squares equal to 0. We get x minus 1 squared plus 2, y minus x squared equals 0. Step 4. Now we can apply the rule we mentioned earlier. Since the sum of two squares equals 0, and squares of real numbers are always non-negative, each square must individually equal 0. So we have x minus 1 equals 0, and 2y minus x equals 0. Step 5. Now that we have found x equals 1, and y equals 1/2, we can determine the value of x plus y. X plus y equals 1 plus 1/2, which equals 3/2, or 1.5. Welcome to our math tutorial. Today we're going to solve an interesting problem involving a quadratic equation and powers. Let's examine our problem. If x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0, then we need to find the value of x to the power of 500 plus 1 over x to the power of 500. This looks challenging at first because calculating x to the 500th power directly would be extremely tedious. But we'll see there's a much more elegant approach. First, let's focus on our quadratic equation. We have x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. This is our starting point. We need to understand the properties of the roots of this equation before we can find x to the power of 500. Let's manipulate our equation in different ways to extract useful relationships. First, we can rearrange the equation to x squared plus x equals -1, which means negative x squared minus x equals 1. Alternatively, we can rewrite our original equation as x times the quantity x plus 1 over x equals 0, which simplifies to x plus 1 over x equals 0. This means x plus 1 over x equals -1. We can also rearrange our equation as x squared equals negative x minus 1, which means x cubed equals negative x squared minus x. And that means x cubed equals 1. This last relationship is a key insight that will help us solve the original problem. Now, let's focus on our target expression, x to the power of 500 plus 1 over x to the power of 500. We can rewrite this in a more useful form. Since 500 equals 3 times 166 plus 2, we can rewrite x to the power of 500 as x to the power of 3 times 166 times x squared. But we know that x cubed equals 1, so x to the power of 3 times 166 equals 1 to the power of 166, which is just 1. This means x to the power of 500 simplifies to x squared. Similarly, 1 over x to the power of 500 equals 1 over x squared. So our expression becomes x squared plus 1 over x squared. Now, we need to find the value of x squared plus 1 over x squared. Let's recall that we previously found that x plus 1 over x equals -1. To find x squared plus 1 over x squared, we can use the following relationship. The square of a sum of two terms equals the square of the first term plus twice the product of the terms plus the square of the second term. Let's square both sides of our equation. X plus 1 over x equals -1. We get the square of x plus 1 over x equals the square of -1. Expanding the left side, we get x squared plus 2 times x times 1 over x plus the square of 1 over x equals 1. Since x times 1 over x equals 1, we get x squared plus 2 plus 1 over x squared equals 1. Rearranging, we get x squared plus 1 over x squared equals 1 minus 2, which equals -1. Let's combine our results. We found that x to the power of 500 plus 1 over x to the power of 500 equals x squared plus 1 over x squared. And we calculated that x squared plus 1 over x squared equals -1. Therefore, the value of x to the power of 500 plus 1 over x to the power of 500 is -1. Let's summarize what we've learned. We started with the quadratic equation, x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more math lessons. NENOMATICA, where mathematics meets YouTube excellence.